Good morning, everybody. Happy whatever day we're in. Happy Wednesday. Wednesday. That's what day we're in. Happy Wednesday. Hello. Minnie, Jeremiah, Linda, Kevin. Hello, friends. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Screen. Okay. Yo. What's up, Philip? How you doing, buddy? Tap that thumbs up. Tap it, tap it, tap it, tap, tap it. I had to not wear my hat, Linda. If you haven't watched the whole episode, which you wouldn't have at this point, there's a reason. There's a good reason. The hat wouldn't have worked for what we were doing in that. How are we feeling after last night? Actually, pretty good. Sad that a couple people that I interviewed that I hoped would win didn't. But some people that I did hope would win did, and that I interviewed. So, and, progressives won over establishments. People that didn't raise very much won over people that raised a ton of money. A lot of MAGA lost. So yeah, pretty good actually. Pretty good. Who won that you interviewed? Amanda Green, I believe, is one of them. Or is it Greer? I can never remember her last name. Hold on. I'll tell you in a second. Green. Yes. Amanda Marie Green, who was running in the 2nd district in Florida. James Martin hasn't technically won yet. They're within about 0.8% with 99% yet, but it looks... Oh, wait, he's going up against Bernard Taylor? No, I interviewed both of them. That sucks. That really sucks. Morning, Silver. Robert People won. And then in Alaska, Tom Bejic, can never say his last name, made it through. Because they do theirs a little differently, but he made it through. So I'm excited for him too. Of course. I mean, I'm sad that it's looking like... I hate when I understand that has to happen, but it almost makes me a little sad when I interview multiple people that are running for the same district. Because it's like, I want one of them to win, but I I want both of them to win, or 3 of them in one case. In one of the districts, I think I interviewed 3 people that were running in the same district. It was wild. I don't like when I do that. I understand that that's, you know, just part of the deal, but it still sucks. Hey, Ambrosia. We want, I mean, I want all people that don't align with my fundamentals out. I understand why we say all Republicans. I just try not to do that because I don't think those names mean anything in the end, but watching here, I can't always, but it helps. I'll try. Ambrosia, in the end, watch where you want to watch. That's what I want. I want you guys to feel comfortable and enjoy being a part of the community. I appreciate it though. Had to fresh so many times for my live to come up. Oh, good. Wonderful. Love it. Love to hear it. It's great. It's so good. Guys, if you jump in, make sure you start tapping. Helps push it to more people. How you doing, Ghost? Me depends on which device I'm using doing. Okay, cool. So if you haven't noticed, I changed my name from my podcast to my actual name. We'll see. You know, Di said that she thinks it might help, but thank you, Brenda. I try. Only doing what I can. I want to see anyone who hasn't had a spine in the last few years to be replaced. Amen to that. I need Friday to be here so I can get my premium back, so I can hear you in the background as I'm working. Get rid of the ads. That's fair, Jeremiah. Good morning, Caroline. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the taps. The faster we get the taps, the more we get pushed out to people, especially if you also join the team and all that other, or the fan club or whatever the hell it's called. Hey, OC. I just like the nonchalant way we discuss things here. We sometimes go deep with the conversation. Sometimes we stay on the surface. It's refreshing from the argument debates. Yes. Yep. Yep. It's, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do things. A lot of different ways to do things. Thank you guys. I appreciate you all. If you didn't see my video this morning, I responded to what happened in Dearborn. It seems that not only was Jake Lang flying the American flag, but they were the people around him were also flying the Schmatzi flag. You mean the corporation ADS? I don't care about the corporation. I don't vote for corporations. I do vote, and I'm an independent. So if you're talking about Democrats as a whole, I'd pull them low too. But I'm still voting for them over Republicans. Republicans are polling horribly. This administration has literally the lowest approval rating, like almost of anyone in history, of any president in history. I think 33%. Yeah, Jake Lang did an anti-Muslim march, and it was pretty disgusting. Abbott's trying to ban anyone with an H-1 visa from teaching in Texas. Oh, good. That'll help. I think most of us here just simply like you. I appreciate that, Silver. I do. I do. I do appreciate it. It was it was a it was a lot of things, Books. It was a lot of things. The funny thing is I already got a comment in there saying, "We don't actually know that that person was with them." I'm like, "Okay. Okay." Yes. So when I say primaries were a win for progressives and a loss for MAGA, it's because on the Republican side, MAGA was losing everywhere, and on the Democrat side, progressives were either winning or doing much better than anyone thought they would, like beating out the big money people, kind of a thing. That's what I meant. So yes, primaries are just for said party. There are a lot of Muslims in Dearborn, Ghost. Literally doing opposite of all they promised. And Garrett, I do appreciate you coming in and saying that. I I I don't know how anyone thought he would do what he promised, but it was a Democrat and a Republican primary. They were both. Primaries in Florida both happened at the same time. Yes. Well, that's what Jake Lang does. He's really good at it. Just remember, even if the more progressive candidate doesn't win, the fact that they're doing, oh yeah, absolutely, Silver. Absolutely. Trashing veterans? No, why would I trash veterans? Veterans are awesome. Veterans need to be protected, but veterans need to be cared for way more. Why would I trash veterans? I have not. I would love to. I would love to interview them, but I have not. What's up, Scott? Different sides of the same coin. Disagree. Opinion on the housing market. It sucks. The whole Pete Hegseth conversation. Well, I mean, Pete Hegseth is a piece of shit. I'm not sure what that has to do with veterans. I don't think Pete Hegseth is a piece of shit because he's a veteran. I think he's a piece of shit because he's a piece of shit. Will the younger generations ever own a home? Sure. I think, if I'm being honest, I think things will crash and it'll get to a point where they can again. It's not a side when it comes to the e-files. But I don't care what side you're on in the e-files, but that doesn't mean both sides are the same, two sides of the same coin. That just means there are shit people on both sides, which there are. Not all of them. Some of them. Sure. Oh yeah, too busy with what's going on in Iran. Is it weird? You mean here? No, it's not weird. Going to be much like the Depression. Hopefully, it won't get that bad, but it's going to get close, I think. Well, Treasury yields have skyrocketed. They're about 30 years now above 5.3%. And I think $10 billion have been put into shorting the market. I mean, I think we need to hold everyone accountable. I don't care what side you're on. You should be held accountable. But it's not about sides. You hold people accountable when they do shitty things. That's what we need to do. We need to stop worrying about a letter next to your name and just hold people accountable when they're do something bad. Then blame both sides, not one. I do blame both sides when blame is necessary. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Everyone that's here regularly knows I do not hold back from blaming Democrats from when they're pieces of shit. That doesn't mean the Republicans don't do more pieces of shit right now, which they are. They are larger pieces of shit right now. They just are. Especially because they're the ones in power. But trust me, I have spent plenty of time railing on Democrats for dumbassery. Morning, Clara. Clara, you will like today's episode that I released on YouTube. You're gonna love it. Definitely gonna love it. Especially about 20 minutes in. You're really gonna love it. What's up, buddy?
Well, eating some more crow this morning, I am. So, heading into this primary season, the rule of thumb was that progressives could only win in deep blue districts, that they couldn't compete in a statewide election, and certainly not a statewide election in a purple or conservative state. Mea culpa, I was one of the ones who held that view. Since then, we've seen a small progressive win in Michigan, a small progressive loss in Wisconsin. Last night was not small.
That was insane.
Nixon defeated Vindman, who, if you'd asked me yesterday, remember when you were thinking about going on for the primaries? I had to bite my tongue saying, what the hell are you going to go on to watch the Florida primary? We already know who's going to win. It's a joke. It's going to be a snooze fest. Wow. That's why I'm an idiot. Really She was outspent by Vindman. Vindman spent 16.3 million. She spent 975,000. For those of you keeping score at home, that's more than 16 to 1. Couple of lessons here. The progressives lost down ballot. It's no slam dunk, but they are now they're real. They're for real. What I call the activist progressive wing of the Democratic Party is stronger than I thought it was. It's real. And the Democrats in general have learned a lesson. What works, not television ads. Please get that through to Democrats. Nobody votes because of a television ad, and yet Democrats consistently dump hundreds of millions of dollars into television ads that I don't think gets them a handful of votes.
Yeah.
You could fit all the voters who cast their vote based upon a TV ad in a phone booth. Yeah, it doesn't work. What does work? Exactly what we think works. And exactly, by the way, the Republicans have shown in a few instances works for them. Knocking on doors, large volunteer organizations, grassroots organizing. I know that sounds old school, but it works. In every single one of these instances, the progressives haven't had a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and they've been competitive because of grassroots organizing. I hope to God, although I doubt it because Democrats are pretty dumb when it comes to politics, I hope to God the Democrats are learning some lessons here. I really do. Were there any disappointments last night? Well, as I said, if you're, a DSA type, they lost down ballot. But that's not the thing that bothered me. I really take a look at the turnout.
Oh,
And the Democrats' turnout throughout this entire election season has been fantastic. The Republicans has been disastrous, not last night. Last night, the Republicans dwarfed the Democrats in turnout. Roughly 1.66 million for the Republicans, 1.26 million for the Democrats. That does not bode well for November, and there's no sense lying to ourselves about that. Florida remains a pretty deep state. If you'd have asked a red state, if you'd have asked me before last night if the Republicans could draw 400,000 more people to vote than the Democrats, I would have said you're crazy.
Well,
but
and
they did.
And the one thing that I would argue in Florida is, I've talked to a few people, and Florida really did not do a good job talking about the primaries. And I mean, we who are in it have heard it, but I heard a lot of people be like, everyone I know didn't even know the primaries were this week. Whether that's enough to make any real change, I don't know. We'll have to see. I think there's more. I think there's more to it than there seems.
Mike, I think Florida did the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, remember we were upset about the Virginia turnout.
Mm-hmm.
That was a poor turnout.
Yeah.
Well, both of us weren't thinking that day when we made that statement, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Virginia attempted to gerrymander their. The Democrats tried to gerrymander. The Supreme Court threw it out.
Yeah.
But as part and parcel of that, they moved the primary way back and didn't advertise it.
Yep.
And I know Florida gerrymandered, and I'll bet you this was a late primary as well, so that they could fit in the gerrymandering. Either way, it is something that people have to pay attention to.
Oh, sure. They should. They absolutely should. Yeah, I didn't hear a lot about it. Shugs in Florida, so.
The other loser last night was Donald Trump.
Oh, man.
Lost in the 19th district. Corey Mills lost in the 7th district. His Wyoming pick for governor got hammered. In all, Donald Trump has lost so far 10 endorsements, which is more than the other 3 elections that he's endorsed in combined. So this has been not a good primary season for the president. He seems to be losing his iron grip on the Republican Party. He's still the most important Republican, of course. I'm not saying he's not, but he's losing his iron grip on the Republican Party, and that's only going to get worse after the midterms. But
Yeah.
the big takeaway item is the old saw that I had bought into, that far left progressives cannot be competitive in a purple state. They can't be competitive in a red state. That's obviously wrong.
Well, and
That's obviously wrong. The numbers don't lie.
well, and I mean, you got to also look at what Florida is dealing with. Florida's dealing with a massive insurance affordability problem. Housing defaults are skyrocketing in Florida. Florida is pissed right now. So it'll be very interesting for a place like Florida.
Well, you're one more thing I would add. You're correct in both the things you cited. The other thing that is absolutely huge in Florida that isn't realized perhaps in the rest of the country, Florida led the state, it led the nation in people receiving subsidies under the Affordable Care Act.
Mm.
And that has been ripped away from them. Florida, by far, led the nation in people getting money subsidies from the Affordable Care Act, and that has hurt the Republican Party in Florida.
Yeah. Hey, Books.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Ended up posting a different episode today on the tube that I was planning on. It ended up interviewing another person who is over in hometown. Why are you asking? Are you interested? I appreciate that you find me attractive, but no, I'm married with a child, married to a lovely lady. But thanks for showing interest in me. Interviewed another young lady over in LA, in Hollywood, who's an actor, and it was fun to do an episode that did not have to do with politics for one time. It was so nice. I came out of that, I was like, oh, I liked this.
Yeah, it's nice to recognize that there's other things still. While everything is interconnected, to be able to focus on something besides just politics is nice.
And we mentioned some things here and there that kind of slid in, but it was just like, just watch it and it was just fun. It was just fun. There was laughing. We did some funny things. It was
That's the one you just posted?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with a whole bunch of Hollywood episodes. Yeah. I mean, it's so weird how life works. Like how you make connections with people, make friends with people that can change things around. And I don't know, who knows where this will go, but it was fun. Ugh. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have not seen them yet, but they're on my list. I just have a fascination with all things Hollywood. I really do, and always have. Just the making of motion pictures and streaming and television, the business model of it, the interpersonal relationships, everything from set design to costume design. I mean, these people are just so damn talented. It's unbelievable how talented they are.
Well, and the funny thing for the episode that I posted today, so the two episodes deal with what's called vertical microdramas. It's become the new thing in Hollywood. Cheaper to produce, and people watch them on their phones. Like they're everywhere now. So the first episode dealt with obviously AI taking over because that makes them so they can make these things cheaper. So the person I interviewed yesterday, or that I posted last week, they created a business to fight against AI in Hollywood, kind of a thing, in these vertical microdramas. And the person I interviewed yesterday is also a part of that world, so we were talking about it more. I didn't know anything about vertical microdramas before. They're hilarious. If you just like watching stuff that's like, it's just, I was cracking up during it. But the funny thing that ended up happening was I just, for the fun of it, I wrote one, and me and that person, we brought in someone else, and we acted it out like they do in the microdramas, and then I got to edit it all. It was just fun. I got to be creative in a way that I haven't been creative. But this is a whole world of Hollywood that most people don't even really know about. I didn't even know vertical microdramas existed until like 2 weeks ago. Like I didn't
Well,
even know it was a thing.
Mike, could you help out an old man and define what a vertical microdrama is?
So it's like a romantic comedy or just a drama. It's like a shorts video. So they basically take a think, let's see if how I can describe it. Romantic comedy meets normal drama meets soap opera, all in something you watch on your phone, split into like 50 or 60 2-minute episodes. That's what it is. It's literally something that they make in like a week. They record in a week and put together, and it's designed to be watched on your phone. But it's done in some ways similarly, but it's a lot. It's almost more work but less work. And you'll learn all about it because I talked to both of the people, person today and before, about what it's like, what it involves making it. It's pretty wild, and it's growing, and I think it'll turn into something cool. Right now, obviously, they go where the money is, but I think it's growing enough that you'll see a lot more people, a lot more kinds of videos coming out through it.
Just to slide in my 2 cents from the political side into
Yeah.
that, this is why it is extremely important to acknowledge that no matter who is in office or what party controls things, we do not want a government that is trying to control what Hollywood does. Because the arts is one of the great markers of a strong and functioning society that has the freedom to create and to critique its own government.
And
Yes, and I agree with books. You are bringing up a hugely important point. Maybe the most important thing that's happening in America right now isn't ICE, isn't even the war in Iran, may not even be the cuts to healthcare. The most important thing happening is the right-wing takeover of media, movies, news, and social media. And anybody who thinks that culture doesn't affect politics hasn't been paying attention. Culture has affected politics since our nation was founded.
Yep.
And that is so vitally important, Books. Thanks for bringing it up.
And this is why I say I ask you guys to go watch like the video that I posted with Lawson from last week, and support, if you can, at minimum support by watching, following, sharing the stuff that I did with her, because her and her friends are trying to create a business that goes against that culture, that changes the culture, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to succeed without the support of people that want that change. It's easy to just say, well, it's everywhere. The way it is right now is the way it is. So let's go follow it all. But no, we need to actually take the next step, which is support all of these, small businesses, small creators that are trying to make change. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to be a multimillionaire to support these people. Yes, if you have a little money, they're doing like a GoFundMe to be able to make their movies, but it's not, they just want the word to get out, and that helps them.
And a little thing about AI, yes, like AI is competing with this industry, but the industry is fighting back, and this is another reason why politics are so important, because there are regulations that we can create.
Mhm.
I mean, we make pretty extreme regulations for different industries all the time. There's no reason why we can't make regulations on AI to protect a our art and to protect an industry that is vitally important for our economy.
Yeah, and by the way, Ghostcraft brought up of how he feels about ICE in Los Angeles, and I hear you, Ghostcraft. I didn't mean to minimize anything about ICE or healthcare subsidies or anything else. I'm talking about the long-term damage being done to our democracy by the taking over of the making of movies, television, streaming services. HBO is included in this deal, along with Meta, TikTok, the Tube of You. This is extraordinarily dangerous long term
Yeah.
for the health of any democracy. And by the way, I would say the exact same thing if it was George Soros buying them all up.
Sure.
I would say the exact same thing. It's dangerous. It's antithetical to having a democracy.
I call it one of the hallmarks of the insidious kind of poisoning that fascism does. It's slow, it's kind of in the background, it's silent, but the warning signs are there, and we are seeing the warning signs of what a hallmark of fascism is when it comes to our free speech.
Michael,
Well, you know, you're quite right, Books. Would the Paramount Warner Brothers merger, which includes CNN in addition to CBS, Discovery, etc., that would never have been considered under any other administration ever. It would the DOJ would hit them with an antitrust action so fast their heads would be spinning, and the FCC would have never approved it. Well, we're not living in that world anymore, and those mergers are going ahead.
Michael, I want to be clear. Of all of the quote unquote sides of the aisle that are using AI specifically for propaganda purposes, the right is by far has shown to use it just drastically more. Like, it's not even close right now. That's not to say that people on the left side aren't, but if we're talking the amount, it's I mean, the president alone is making and pushing AI.
That's what I was just gonna say. The president uses AI more than like any other politician right now. I mean, who could forget the memorable AI Trump Jesus?
Or the memorable AI dumping of poop from a jet.
Or the AI Trump in full military uniform, the 5-time draft dodger in full military uniform, who had apparently lost about 300 pounds because he looked normal, with Generals Patton and MacArthur. I mean, are you kidding me? That's laughable.
So I wanted to bring up earlier, but I just the conversation didn't lean that way, so I'm just going to throw it out now because I haven't seen anybody talk about this, but what has happened in Butler, PA. So I work a lot in that area. It is a staunchly red area. I mean, we're talking like Trump signs on billboards everywhere. So they had a special election, and as of right now, the Democrat is ahead there. It was, I think, a 18 or 19-point district. But nobody has mentioned, at least that I've seen, that it was the site of the ear fiasco.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say it on this app, but I'm surprised that nobody has mentioned that either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised nobody's mentioned it.
So many things happen. It's just easy to get lost at this point.
I can't keep up with it all. I literally can't. Universal healthcare is not a joke. Universal healthcare would save this country $1 trillion a year, and it would cost every American and every business dramatically less. You're a joke. Universal healthcare is not.
The Chen School at Harvard University said that universal health care would promote an overall savings to the American people of $1 trillion a year. Okay?
Other people
That's
have
what
done
Harvard
the
said,
math.
but I guess the commenter knows more than Harvard.
Other people have done the math. You obviously don't know how much we already spend as a country when I'm talking businesses and people on healthcare.
And Grace, yes, that is a very big point that I think people who are deeply involved in politics understand that the independent voters are what wins elections. There really are, in this day and age, very few swing districts left because of gerrymandering. And independents right now have the Trump administration has the lowest approval rating, I think, ever with independents.
Yeah, about 19 points.
People, yes, people in the White House know this. We are starting to see people jump ship from the White House again, just like his first term, having massive turnover. I think you're going to start seeing more and more turnover because they do not want to be involved in the after the midterms when they start getting investigated. Investigations are coming.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at how many lawyers that used to work for Trump now got disbarred because they chose to stay for too long.
Yeah, well, somebody ought to whisper 2 words to our newly minted Attorney General. Those 2 words are John Mitchell. And for those of you who may not recall, John Mitchell was Nixon's Attorney General. He went to jail. So you ought to whisper that to them. And by the way, Grace, and I'm sure you didn't mean to type it, it came out that way. The Democrats have done very, very well in the elections, the special elections, over 100 of them now in 2025 and 2026, but they haven't won every one of them. And maybe that isn't what I'm sure that isn't what you were trying to say. But the Democrats are averaging 16 points better than they did in the election of 2024, which is the biggest gap that's ever existed. So that things are looking up for November.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, local and state elections too. Dems are doing really well. And again, we'll see what happens in the general. There's still what 2.5 more months. A lot can
And
happen to make more people feel the need to come out and vote.
you know, I probably had a different viewpoint than Scott did maybe on Florida. I did not have much hope for Florida. I think the Democrats are doing well considering they basically had to build from nothing again. Um, Florida just has a very unique economy, and their socioeconomic data points. You know, they have an extremely aging population, a lot of retirees, and these are a lot of retirees who have money because they have the ability to move and retire down there. Florida knows this. They have a very big longevity crisis on their hands that they're starting to see. They have just been cushioned by the increased GDP of retirees moving down there and a bit more of a robust economy because of tourism and obviously their weather.
Yeah, I don't believe it's quite as old as Maine, but it's certainly one of the oldest states out there, and you're quite right in what you're saying. I mean, overall, just a very, at least for me, a very, very surprising win for Nixon last night. And again, it wasn't just that she won, it was the size of the win and the fact that she was outspent 16-1.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize this again, like I did in the beginning. Democrats, learn your lesson. Stop pissing away money on television ads that don't work. Start spending your money on building a strong ground game. That's what wins elections, because you're dealing with small margins. We're so polarized that a ground game can put you over the top. And that's been the lesson, in my opinion, of the 2026 primary season. And I hope it holds over into the general elections.
Yeah.
I hope the Democrats can learn their lesson.
In this kind of age of post social media, I would say there's a little bit of a tiredness of social media, I think, and people really appreciate the grassroots movements of door-to-door politics again.
So one district is still undecided because they're less than a percentage point between them. And I've interviewed both of them. So it'll be very interested to see how that one turns out.
I think Florida too, like I'm hopeful that with Florida, I think that like I said, the Dems have done really well considering the steep hill that they have to climb. But you know what? Like remembering past elections, I mean, when I was in high school and watching Florida turn red and how shocked everybody was, I wouldn't be shocked when and if it does turn blue again. It's just one of those states where either way it's going to flip. It's a big shock. And they have a lot of electoral votes.
I mean,
it was only 2012 and 2008 that the Democrats won the state. So it's not that long ago. So, yeah, it could. Is this the year they do it? I don't know. I agree with you, Books. The Democratic Party is very weak in Florida. There's been a lot of things that have happened. Gillum was a disaster for the Democrats, also a disaster for wrecking the party like he did. So it's a rebuilding process, but they seem to be rebuilding relatively quickly. And, the turnout last night was not what we wanted to see. That there's no sugarcoating that. You can't have 400,000 more Republicans voting than Democrats. That's an important fact. But other than that, it's again surprising results. I was surprised at how easily Wasserman Schultz won and Jared Moskowitz won.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't all. It just shows. Look, these things within the Democratic Party, progressive, moderate, liberal, etc. It's a big tent party. That's not a bad thing. Literally, differences of opinion within your political party is not a bad thing. That's the sign of a very, very healthy political party.
Mm-hmm. What was I gonna say? Yeah, and even what was it? The Senate race in Wyoming, the Trump's pick lost for the Senate primary for Republican.
That's yeah, you're right. I mean, just the two districts in Florida where he got hammered, and what happened out in Wyoming. We haven't been seeing much of that lately. Normally, the endorsement of Donald Trump is all you need in the Republican Party, and that's changing.
Yes, Bonnie, in Wyoming, and Cody, you're right. It's not a good thing how much money centrists are taking from corporate and PAC money. Unfortunately, until we can either get more people to vote or things get so bad that people just start flipping, that's like, again, primaries are where we actually make the change. General election is just a general election. You get two choices at that point. If we can't get more people to go and vote in the primaries, this is gonna be a constant struggle.
Yeah, primaries are so important, and there's so many important primaries that aren't just Democrat versus Democrat or Republican versus Republican. I mean, there's special elections, there's school boards, which is we've learned is extremely important. And this is one of the things that Republicans have worked on for decades, is to try to get on these committees. They went after school boards, they went after utility boards, things that really affect people's everyday lives. And we learned how important it is for us to be as proactive as possible in the primaries to change those major things that affect your local communities.
Yeah, and let's not overstate the case, though. The good news in looking at the 2026 primary season as a whole, looking at it on a macro level, is the turnout of Democrats in primaries. It's been pretty damn good. I mean, is it where any of us want it to be? Of course not. Americans don't vote in primaries. But the Democratic turnout has been significantly better than the Republican turnout nationwide. And that's a trend that bodes very, very well for November.
And Cody, you're absolutely right. If it was a level playing field, El Sayed probably would have blown her out. 100%, no argument. But that's still on the voter more than anything. It still comes down to, again, in my opinion, we as voters need to get more involved and pay attention more and not let just the money that these people throw around decide for us, because it's not like El Sayed was not on the internet for anyone and everyone to learn about if they wanted to. This is we as a whole, and when I say as a whole, I mean the other 75% of the people that don't vote in primaries are the problem. Straight up.
Yeah. Especially younger
there's
voters, middle-aged younger voters.
Yeah, there's something else to remember, though, that I'm noticing, Mike. You will see as we head into November, the media, including social media, will cover on the horse race aspect of it. And one of the big parts of the horse race aspect is how much money they have. Who's raising this? Who's raising that? Folks, as has been proven here in the primaries and has been proven by Donald Trump, who was wildly outspent in 2016, 2020, and 2024. Money isn't everything. A ground game and a enthused voter base will trump money every single time. Look, it's great to have both, but it's how you spend your money that counts. And Democrats all too often, I think of primarily the Hispanic community, they sit there and make these $10 million, $20, $30 million ad buys on Telemundo. What a waste of goddamn money. Knock on the doors. Get a ground game going.
Yeah.
That will net you more votes than any radio or television ad ever did.
And you're right, Cody. The one thing that money does give you, especially in terms of visibility, is not just the ability to buy things. Those bigger platforms will interview you, like Pod Save America and all the other ones. Like, I can't get the people that actually raise a lot of money. I can't get on my podcast because I'm not considered big enough for their time. They get a lot of money. They can get those bigger ones that give them more visibility and more name rec. That's the problem that we've got, at least on the internet side of things. Progressives lose to the DNC in their own party.
Yeah, I saw that nonsense. It's ridiculous statement.
Somebody pointed it out in the chat, and I do think that it's a good point that they made, that a lot of states do have closed primaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a form, in my opinion, of voter suppression. That's one of the things that we talk about a lot here is voter suppression and trying to vote for people who want to not have voter suppression so much. Independents are a huge block of voters.
Sure.
And for them to not have access to voting in their primaries really does a disservice to our election process.
Well, a couple of things on that, Books. And I agree with your general point. I don't think it's so much voter suppression. It has to do with other factors. But first and foremost, if you live in a closed primary state, many closed primary states still allow you to vote. You simply declare when you show up at your voting booth, you say, I want a Democrat or Republican ballot. You can request either one, and you'll be, for a day, signed up with that party. So please don't give up if you're an independent. Find out if your closed primary state, and a lot of them do, allow you to select a party on that day. Secondly, what's the reason for closed primaries? Well, it's not a very good reason, but the reasoning dates back 50 or so years. It has to do with the potential for mischief. If you have candidate A in let's say the Republican Party, and candidate A is an incumbent, candidate A is going to win by a ton. The reason that they don't allow people from outside their party to vote in the other party is because if you're a supporter of candidate A, you know he doesn't need your vote. He's going to win easily. So you go vote in the Democratic primary and you pick the worst possible candidate you can so that candidate A has a weaker opponent in November. It's mischief, and they want to prevent the mischief. Now, I think that's way overrated. I don't think it happens all that much, but that's the reasoning. That's the main reasoning behind a closed primary.
I would also make an argument. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. We, as someone who has been an independent his entire life, if I lived in a state that did not allow me to vote in the primaries, unless I was, as is said before, unless in like Florida, you need to switch to your party 30 days prior to the primary, I would register and I would suck it up, because in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. If you know that you need to vote, if you know that voting in the primary is necessary, and you know that in general you lean, progressive, and your chances are someone is going to someone's running in that party in the primary that you would want to support because they are more progressive or whatever, just register, because you can vote for whoever you want in the end when it comes to the general election. We've got to get, and again, this is coming from someone who's been an independent for the last almost 30 years. Register with a party. In the general election, of course, you can vote for whoever you want. In the general election, you don't have to only vote blue if you are a registered Democrat. What are you talking about? Not in the general election, Grace. You can vote for whoever you want.
I don't think Grace is understanding your phrase general election. Grace, general election refers to the election in November.
I didn't say for primaries. Primaries are right now. General election is in November. Anyways, just register. Just register. Do it. This is not, it sucks. It's something it probably would eat at you to a slight extent. We've got to do it though.
Yeah, it's an extra hoop that you have to jump through. And I don't agree with closed primaries. I was just giving you the reasoning behind them, how they started with closed primaries, because they wanted to prevent, the Democrats wanted to prevent Republicans from voting in their primary and vice versa. But that's not a very good reason, and it doesn't happen all that often. So I think the reasoning is faulty.
I think in general, in my opinion, it's more of like a system problem that creates another hoop that you have to go through. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it definitely creates another hoop that you have to go through. But again, folks, don't assume just because your primaries are, quote, closed, end quote, that you can't vote as an independent. A lot of states, I know both of our states, Mike, New Jersey and North Carolina, you can just show up and you can ask to vote for whichever party you want. Doesn't matter whether you're registered to vote for that party. You can just show up and ask for a Republican ballot or a Democratic ballot.
Yes. In my opinion, yes, Trump will be impeached a third time. It doesn't mean that it's going to amount to anything like the other two times.
Yeah, it won't.
But they will still go through the process.
The real question is, will an impeachment basically, if the Democrats take the Senate too, get a majority in the Senate, there will be an investigation. You won't get enough votes to remove him. If they don't take the Senate, you'll get him impeached, and then it will die in the Senate. It probably won't even go up for a vote. It'll just sit
Well,
there.
it'll have to go up for a vote if he gets impeached by the House. I'm pretty sure the Senate will have to vote on it.
No, because when they impeached Mayorkas or whatever, they didn't go to a vote. I didn't think.
You know what? I'll research that.
Okay.
It's neither here nor there. Just so folks understand the difficulty of impeachment. Impeachment is a majority vote in the House, but it takes 67 senators to convict. That is a very high bar, and that's set by the Constitution. That can't be.
Yeah,
can't be screwed with.
The filibuster doesn't deal with impeachment and removal. Unfortunately,
no. Impeachment is governed by the Constitution. It's 67 votes. That's what it is.
I do think, depending on a couple things, one, how big of a blue wave that we get, especially in the Senate, and two, how much influence Trump himself loses among his own party. And the longer that I think things drag on, and the longer that the direction this administration is focusing on, I think Republicans may start finally getting rid of that sway that he has.
Well, the problem is, what benefit would it be to them? A vote to impeach Trump, to convict Trump, rather, doesn't gain them any Democratic votes and would cost them Republican votes. That's the problem that we face. Look, folks, we're putting the cart way above the horse with the whole impeachment thing. The key to taking back the House or the Senate or both is as we talked about before, the investigative power that comes with it. And the investigative power resides on one thing, the power of subpoena. And that will come to whichever party controls that House. They control the subpoena power. And I think what's going to happen is there's going to be huge amount of investigations. In fact, that's all they're going to be doing, really, since they won't be passing laws. Trump would just veto it. They'll be investigating the living hell out of Trump. If that leads to an impeachment, fine. If it doesn't, fine. What they're doing is wrapping things up in a tiny little bow to hand to a future Department of Justice vis-a-vis criminal referral. That is what their goal is going to be. If it leads to an impeachment, fine. But I think their main thing will be to investigate.
Marty, of course,
completely agree.
Of course, there's a lot of I thinks on here. No one knows the future. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Everything that everyone talks about regarding anything that's happened in the future is all guesswork. It's literally guesswork.
Yeah, I'm still baffled as to how we got ourselves into this position in the first place.
Anyone that thinks that they know what the future holds 100% is lying to you. So yeah, it's always I think. Always going to be I think. Anyone that says that a blue wave is going to happen or blue wave's not going to happen or X, Y, and Z is going to happen, but you keep with the same shit. Impeach talk is crazy. Well, yeah, because that's a possibility.
Yeah, and I think we just established that I personally don't even care necessarily about impeachment. I completely agree with Scott about the investigations, because we know laws are not going to get through. We don't have all three branches of government, and Trump is just going to veto anything that gets through anyway. It is important to go through investigations, and investigations of everyone we can possibly do and get involved in, because this has been the level of reach that the executive branch has infiltrated into all the other branches, and into what are supposed to be independent agencies, is extremely concerning, to say the least.
Let me ask this. Let me ask this, Marty. If there's a lot of us that believe that Trump has broken the law in many, many cases, and his administration. Should they not investigate those? Should they not? Should they just allow it to happen? I I think I think most of the investigations that were done in this administration have been ridiculous. But I'm not going to say that they shouldn't do them if they're attempting to find people that broke the law. Do I think they're ridiculous? Do I think the allow what to happen? Impeachment or just investigations in general? Impeachment,
Twisting the law is different than actually breaking the law.
the purpose
Look,
of impeachment, basically the impeachment is the grand jury, and it's supposed to go to the Senate, and then they're supposed to actually like do the investigation. That's the whole point of it.
the Senate is the trial. The House of Representatives is the indictment. Look, I couldn't care less one way or another about impeachment. That's not the number one goal here. The number one goal here is to investigate the crimes of this administration. That's the number one goal. That is going to be the focus if the Democrats take the House or the Senate. Both chambers have the right to investigate. Both chambers have plenty of resources to investigate. Both chambers have subpoena power. So that is going to be the primary goal. If it leads to an impeachment, fine. If it doesn't lead to an impeachment, fine. Folks, we're getting way too caught up in impeachment. I have mixed thoughts on impeachment anyway, because both of the other impeachments of Trump led to him becoming slightly more popular.
Yep.
So the main thing is to investigate and to get solid evidence before the American people. And what does that mean in a practical matter? I do believe the Democrats will take the House. I don't see any impediment to that right now, even with the gerrymandering. How much is the gerrymandering? Will it net Republican seats? Yes, it will. It will net maybe 5 or 6 net seats when all is said and done with the gerrymandering. Not enough for the Republicans to continue to hold the House. They're going to lose the House. And that is the key factor here will be the investigations. What happens after that is, we'll take it from there, whether or not there is impeachment. Because at this point, if you impeach and it goes to the Senate, even if the Democrats take the Senate, let's say 51, 52 seats, 53 maybe even, that would be the upper limit as to what the Democrats could have. That's a long way from 67. So in effect, it's a little bit performative, and the performative actions haven't worked out too well for the Democrats yet. Let's get the investigations and let's find out what's going on.
Marty, there's nothing misleading about my title. Progressives did win in the primaries, and Trump and MAGA did lose a lot in the primaries. But, I only have so much space. I can't put every ounce of information necessary. I put it in here and people come in and have a conversation. If you think welcome to the internet, dude. Not as much as MAGA had won most of them. Okay.
I think that we have to look at getting back to what the purpose of each branch is, what their job duties are supposed to be, and what their responsibilities are supposed to be. That is a main responsibility of the House. And one of the responsibilities of Congress is the purse strings. And as MAGA loves to say, waste, fraud, and abuse, well, quite honestly, this administration is committing the largest by and far of waste, fraud, and abuse that we have seen by this government. And it's Congress's duty to investigate that and to get the money allocated back to where it's supposed to be.
And Marty, of course I'm fishing. Again, do you understand what the internet is? Literally the entire purpose of welcome to the internet. I would love it if I could just sit here with nothing above my head and people would come in and talk. It's just not the way it works, man. I got to put something above my head that brings people in. Sorry. Silver asked on the other side, wouldn't an open primary cause both parties to run more centrist candidates? No, I think what you would see is a lot more progressive candidates win if all states had open primaries. That's what I think.
Well, we haven't talked about that yet. We had an open primary in Alaska last night. Alaska has what's known as a jungle primary along with California. And what I found interesting was that not only did Mary Peltola win it, but she defeated incumbent senator who finished second, Dan Sullivan, by 5 points. I think that is very, very encouraging for the Peltola campaign in trying to pull off the upset and taking that Senate seat red. It's been 42 years, folks. There's only been one Democrat from any House of Representatives or Senate in 42 years. There's only been one Democrat from Alaska and Washington, and that one Democrat was Mary Peltola. So she is a popular Democrat. She beat Senator Sullivan last night by 5 points, and I think that's a very impressive win by her.
User unavailable. Iran and China are winning right now. I don't know what you think. And again, senior boss, you don't know what communism is. But thanks for playing. Now that's a lie. No, that's actually fact. Like literally, Iran is winning. China is absolutely winning. I'm not saying you're a Trump supporter. I'm letting you know that saying that if Dems win, Iran and China win, that's a lie. They're winning right now. Actually, they are winning, like big time. Like so big time.
The art of modern warfare is not as black and white as it seems, or as people like to think that it is, and as Hollywood portrays it. We are in a modern day age, and the results are, one, speaking for themselves, and two, the longevity of a Middle East war has, I can't really think of a time that we've gotten the results that we were really looking for.
Literally,
If anything, making things worse.
None of the things that none of the stated goals that this president had have happened. And yet Iran has gotten hundreds of billions of dollars of money that was being sanctioned on them, given back to them because of this administration. Now they control the Strait of Hormuz pretty much completely, even when tankers are supposedly being escorted by American ships, they're still getting hit and taken out. Iran won. Straight up won.
I think that, to your point, there's a big problem in the fact that we don't really have goals that this administration has come out with. I mean, what are the goals? Why were we there? And there's one thing that they've mentioned, but they haven't really shown much proof. If anything, their own government has given proof against what their goal was.
At various times, the Trump administration and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio, who, by the way, am I the only one who's noticed Marco Rubio is staying as far away from this Iran debacle as he possibly can? As Secretary of State, pretty hard to stay away from it, but he's doing a pretty good job of it. At any rate, the only articulable goals they've had are to get their 970 pounds of enriched uranium. They haven't done it. To end the ballistic missile program of Iran. They haven't done it. To effectuate regime change in Iran. They haven't done it, except for the fact that the IRGC is now in charge, and they're crazier than the Ayatollah was. And finally, to stop their aid to the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, their proxies in the Middle East, and they failed at that too. About the only thing Donald Trump has achieved in this war is to give de facto control to the Straits of Hormuz and perhaps the Red Sea exit to Iran. Now,
And
that's 20% of the world's oil and 20% of the world's natural gas and 50% of the nitrogen-based fertilizer flows through the Straits of Hormuz. We've given Iran a chokehold on the world economy. That is all we have accomplished. Great job.
and
Wonderful.
I think a big point in just my opinion, I think that he has shown how big of a weakness we have within our own military and our own government.
No kidding, Books. It's as if we learned nothing from the war in Ukraine. What is 21st century warfare? It isn't Abrams tanks, okay? It's not that. It's drones. And somehow we have allowed ourselves to be passed in drone technology. Not just passed, we're dwarfed in drone technology. Our number one drone, the Reaper, costs $50 million a pop. We've already lost a quarter of our entire supply over there because apparently they suck and can be shot down right away. Meanwhile, Ukraine is turning out drones at anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000 a copy. What is wrong with this picture?
I think that for as much money as we spend, it's pretty obvious that we have some major flaws in our military. Um, and again, modern warfare is different than just who has the most and who has the biggest.
Piper, Muslims aren't running our country. We have separation of church and state. Christians shouldn't be running our country either.
Yeah, Piper, you may want to take a look at the Establishment Clause of the Constitution. It's pretty clear. You might want to look at that.
I mean, we have Hegseth breaking our military laws all the time with his Christian nationalism movement within the military, which is not supposed to be happening.
It's not supposed to be happening. And you're quite right, Books. What we really need are to get companies like RAND or the ISW or other independent agencies to do a real deep dive into just how we are pissing away $1 trillion a year. This ought to be something that's nonpartisan, folks. How the hell can we be spending $1 trillion a year, which is more than our adversaries put together? We're spending $1 trillion a year and we don't have enough Patriot missiles. We don't have enough Tomahawks. The Tomahawks came out in the 1990s. We don't have enough of them? How is that even possible that we run out of ordnance when we're fighting a fifth-rate country like Iran? How the hell are we going to fight China?
No, and we're spending $1.5 trillion on nothing.
We are spending a large amount of money now. This administration has moved a huge swath of billions and billions just into ICE. We are spending far more money on just trying to get immigrants out, which is not going very successfully in any way that you look at it, than immigrants bring into our own country.
And who says that this is not an amusing live? We have Mark in comment says, Doge was nonpartisan, and yet the left complained about the cuts of fraudulent programs. Wow. Literally not a single word of what he said has even a tether to truth.
Nope.
Wow.
Doge was the biggest flop of all flops.
Doge was a complete waste. Doge itself was waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yep.
Yeah, try calling up the Social Security Administration and try and get somebody live on the phone. If you've got a week to kill, that'd be a lot of fun for you.
You know what you could do for citizens with $1.5 trillion a year? Because that's what we're spending on nothing. $150 billion a year is bringing a lot more. That $150 billion that you say, and I don't even know where you get that number, so I'm not even, but let's just assume it's true. We're getting much more out of this country giving undocumented immigrants, helping them with 150 billion a year than anything that our military is giving us for 1.5 trillion. I would
And
much rather support undocumented immigrants than what this administration is spending $1.5 trillion on.
and we have to have administrations who are willing to put in the work for reality. We had a bill, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, that we had a bipartisan bill to look at um, rearranging our laws for immigration, tightening up our asylum rules, getting more judges in place to make the process faster. I mean, we have a system in place that no matter what side you're on, we know is not working. The problem is that this administration is wasting money by trying to spend billions to make videos of them harassing people and putting grandmothers in handcuffs. I mean, it's not going well for them. It's not successful in Democrat side. It's not successful on the Republicans side. They're not getting the numbers that they want, and we're just wasting money.
James, how did I lose? Again, elections aren't a sport. These aren't teams. I support humanity over bullshit grifters like this administration. This administration is more fraudulent than any administration to literally ever walk the earth. Dragonfly, we are a non-religious community here, in the sense of you can be any religion, or you can have no religion. We do not talk, so please do not come in here and just start spouting or pushing any one religion. I'm sorry. You were welcome here, but if you do that, I would do the same. I say the same things to Christians, and I am one.
For who was that? Mark Jones said that we have a surplus budget for the first time ever.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that, but I figured then it'd be looking. I mean, he's on a roll today to see just how moronic a statement he can make. I don't know where he's coming that waste, fraud, and abuse equals a surplus budget. That is utterly absurd. And by the way, Mark, whose job is it in the government to ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse? Oh, that's right. It's the inspectors general. Oh, so they're doing a great job. Oh, no, they can't do a great job because Trump fired them.
They literally announced in July a budget deficit of almost $500 billion.
A record, by the way.
A shocking record.
In 1 month.
It was larger than the economists and their own government was even predicting it was going to be.
Surplus for the first time in years. There is only one president that has run a surplus, and it was not a Republican.
And it was a long time ago.
And you know how he helped
By
make
the way,
it happen?
it's not a trick, folks. It's Bill Clinton.
Made it happen by raising taxes and letting people go, which helped. But that was because he was getting rid of all these Cold War positions that were no longer needed.
Yeah, that was the peace dividend, which we overestimated the effect on the geopolitical situation. Ourselves, the Europeans, the Japanese, the South Koreans, all of us overestimated the peace dividend from the fall of the Soviet Union. We let down our guard a little bit when we shouldn't have.
So not too long ago. The 90s is pretty long ago. That was like 30 years ago, right?
About, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, long time ago. It was a long time ago.
Well, user says that taxes are destroying the middle class. I'm not so sure I agree with that. I think the loss of the safety net is hurting the middle class. And I think having a national debt of $40 trillion and spending $1 trillion each and every year, and that number is only going to go up on interest payments alone, which gains us nothing on the national debt. I think that's what's killing everybody, not just the middle class.
And what's hurting the middle class most is that wealth is going into the pockets of the people at the top, and it's just sitting there and it's never going back into the market. I don't think you guys
Mm-hmm.
realize that the way our system is set up right now, that there are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars that are just sitting there and never getting spent. NAFTA did not kill our country. It definitely hurt. It hurt certain businesses, certain parts of the country. It didn't kill our country though. 24% of your checks go to the government. Okay. That's so 50% in other countries, it goes 50% in other countries, and they have a much higher standard of living than we do.
And I think you may want to go back and actually check your math because I mean maybe that much if you're considering every single tax, especially
They're
maybe if you're a
probably
high earner. Yeah,
they're
a
probably
lot of people get
considering
that wrong.
federal, state, local, Medicare or Medicaid, Social Security, and probably
And listen, we're never going to get away from taxes. It's how governments drive income. It's how they're capable of running. The big point is how we're spending that money and how those taxes are applied throughout wealth distribution. I mean, they when you're looking at percent of income that is spent on taxes of the lower and middle class versus the percent of income that is taxed from the highest ranking individuals, but not just individuals, specifically corporations, that's where we're losing out.
user unavailable. The problem is not your taxes. The problem is the cost of living. That hasn't changed in a long time. None of that has changed. We've been under the Trump tax policy forever. Yeah, and I drive a 2002 Infiniti and a 2008 Honda. What's your point?
And that is a good point. I mean, if you're complaining about taxes still, I mean, we've been under the Trump tax policy for, we've had what, 10 years, and now we're going into another 10 years.
Well, Books and Mike, obviously you're getting it all wrong because Nielsen adds in comments, most taxes go towards the Democrats' campaign arm. Wow, I didn't know that. Thank you for filling us in. Where do you people come up with this shit? Seriously, I really want to know. Nielsen, I really want to know where you came up with that our tax dollars are going to fund the Democratic campaign committee. I really want to know that.
STEL.
Now, that's really interesting to me because the Republicans control the Supreme Court. The Republicans control the White House. The Republicans control the Senate. The Republicans control the House of Representatives. The Republicans have the most governors, and the Republicans have the most state legislatures. So how are the Democrats pulling off this nefarious plan that you have outlined here?
Guys, I love how they will never point out all the frauds that's been shown in other states. And again, the assumption that the entire state is fraudulent just because fraud has been found. There's fraud everywhere. I'm not saying there's no fraud.
Or the assumption that they're not doing something about it. I mean, the Minnesota one is so ridiculous because they literally were investigating them and prosecuting them, and successfully prosecuted many of them.
Which tells
Before
us what
this administration came out.
It tells us that the system is working the way it should.
Mhm.
There was fraud. It was caught. It was punished. There was fraud. It was caught. It was punished.
You know who wasn't punished? The billionaires that Trump allowed to go free.
Yeah,
How about the $2.2 billion he's made in 2025 alone?
What about
1.6 billion of which was that crypto scam of his?
what about
that fraud?
What about the inside information the president's been giving his buddies on the stock market regarding in regards to the Iran war? There's much
The
more.
$100,000 for early tweets. And I don't think I even got a chance to talk on this, but the Trump family was just approved by the government to have a bank, a cryptocurrency bank. Do you know how many billions that is worth? And the federal government, his own federal government, approved it to back it. So when that bank fails in the billions, to the tune of billions of dollars, who is going to bail it out?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that bank is not subject to banking laws. That's an extra added kicker.
Mark, you don't seem to get it. None of you seem to get it. And I don't know why you can't wake up. I don't care about Nancy Pelosi. If she did insider trading, she should go to prison. Everyone should. The problem is you only bring up one side. You're only willing to acknowledge one side. Yes, I believe Nancy Pelosi does insider trading. I believe a good chunk of our Congress does insider trading, and they all should be held accountable.
It should be illegal. I don't think it's illegal for them because they make their own rules and laws, but it should be illegal. But which side is calling for regulations in place? What politicians are putting up bills and voting on those bills to get insider trading to stop?
Look, being a member of Congress is a privilege. It is not a right. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with barring members of Congress from owning any stocks whatsoever. Then you don't have to worry about insider trading. They're not allowed to own any stocks. If you want to keep your stocks, fine. You don't have to run for Congress.
So here's a question I have, Piper, and it frustrates me when I hear people say that it's not all politicians. You can argue maybe that a majority, especially right now, I'll give you that one. But when you say all politicians on both sides are corrupt, why do you end up believing any of them? That's what I don't get. Like, why do you believe Trump? He's a politician and he's on a side.
There are politicians who don't own stocks.
Yes.
It's few and far between, but there are ones that don't own stocks.
Or have truly
there are
divested.
ones who do own stocks, but they don't trade. Yep. I mean, how many trades has the president made? And then we look back at every president before him, and yes, maybe they own stocks, but did they trade while they were president?
Nope.
No, none. Trump is the only one.
I am totally okay with you calling out politicians on any side for their shady stuff. But we've got to get to a point where we can say this is bad and we stand against this, no matter who or what it is. And until we can do that, we are going to keep dealing with the exact same problems that we are dealing with every single freaking year. We say we don't trust politicians, and yet the actions by so many, and it happens on the left, but it also happens way more on the right. But he did not so second term. I didn't. What? The president's out all their assets in a truck. Not this one. Not this one. This
Trump's
one has been
actively
trading. Actively.
Mark, you're batting 1,000 today. Who is the one president in the second half, since the second half of the 20th century began, who is the one president who has not put his holdings in a blind trust? Give you 3 guesses, Mark.
He did
We don't even know
not.
about the salary thing because he doesn't release his information.
And again,
Yeah, how do you know Trump doesn't take a salary, by the way?
Because he says so.
Because he says so? Seriously? A man who votecheck.org had him down, factcheck.org had him down for 30,000 lies in his first term alone. They probably stopped keeping track of it now in his second term. But you're going to believe him when he says he doesn't take a salary?
Google it. Okay.
Well, why don't y'all Google it? Okay. That's your answer.
What
Got it.
happens when the Democrats dominate the elections and Trump and his regime refuse to honor? I mean, they don't have a choice but to honor it. They don't get a choice. Are they going to complain about it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But honor it? It's not a, if they don't get a choice in the matter, really. Have a good day, Piper.
People will always justify an authoritarian style if or those types of people if it gets them to their own beliefs and in their eyes a means to an end.
How can anyone justify Trump's authoritarianism? How? Fear and hate has the ability to warp a person's mind into accepting anything. I mean, again, it's amazing what the brain has the capability of doing. You're so naive that you think Trump will not do absolutely anything to stay in power. Oh, I think he'll say anything. But again, there's one thing that we have learned, even in this term, is that what they say out loud and then what they actually do in the background are not always the same thing. They're actually very rarely the same thing. They love to say, be all pomp and angry and say that this is all BS and we're never going to do these. And then when they get in front of a judge, the stuff they're writing in their documents that they're giving, nothing like what they're saying. He and his family will not leave. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens.
You mean that he will not leave in 2028? Well, that's what they make U.S. Marshals for. They're very good at removing trespassers.
And I do think that we have learned from J6. I mean, I think that it was a shock to everybody, and we didn't have, I don't know about systems in place or who thinks they have certain authority, but I mean, I think we have learned from that.
Mark?
Well, there's something else to consider here, too. The firmament is going to change after the midterms. What do I mean by that? Even popular presidents like Obama or Ronald Reagan or Bill Clinton had a lot less power in the last 2 years of their term. The American people turned to the future after the midterms in the last 2 years of an 8-year term, and the president has less influence, less power. None more so than this guy's going to have. For God's sakes, he's at anywhere from a 32 to 36% approval rating. That is horrific. He's going to be losing political power. And 2 more years from now, 2 more years of this nonsense, I'm going to stay. No, you're not. No, you're not.
And what he's doing in the background is turning the military against U.S. citizens. Actually, I would argue what he's doing is what he's been doing as president since this administration has been turning the military against him. I mean, yeah. what they did to the USS Abraham Lincoln, the The military is not in good shape right now, all around.
And there's a very big difference in the military between the lowest ranking members of our military and the highest ranking members of our military.
Russell, I would argue there's a 50-50 shot at this point. It's maybe a little bit higher. Basically, again, every time they do some just crazy messed up stuff, I think it changes a little bit. But I want to respond to the statement of fear also creates a scenario where anything said by Trump automatically elicits a negative reaction. No. So what has elicited a negative reaction is the shown lack of truthfulness that Trump has been his entire life. I mean, the man said that we are in a great economy when we're not. The man has said that he's going to reduce pharmaceutical costs by 6, 7, 800% when you can't. Literally, I don't care who says it. It's not because he is Trump that I call out bullshit. It's because what he's saying is a lie that I call out his bullshit. That's the part you don't get. You think it's because it's Trump. It's not. It just happens to be that Trump is the biggest bullshit artist to literally ever exist in that position. Stocks at our all-time. Most people do not have stocks. Most people do not care what the stock. I have a 401k. I could give a rat's ass that my 401k is higher than it was a year and a half ago because I'm not retiring for another 20 years. Why would I care?
Mm-hmm.
If I can't afford to pay my bills now, it doesn't matter where my 401k is.
The stock market is not a fair representation of how the majority of Americans are doing.
Yeah, fortunate servant, you brought up before, why aren't there any investigations into Nome, Bondi, et cetera, et cetera? That's precisely what taking the House is all about. There will be plenty of investigations, and it's coming up in about 10 weeks. So there are going to be plenty of investigations. You don't have to worry about that.
You will give a shit when it's time to retire. Assuming I ever get to retire. Like assuming I even survive. That's the point you guys don't get. When you say stock markets are up and people are trying to decide if they can afford food, what do they care about stock markets when they can't afford food?
It's not a good representation of the economy, and it's an increasingly poor representation of the economy because less and less people are able to put money into the stock market.
You never voted blue in the first place.
Exactly what I was going to say. You beat me to it.
You never voted blue in the first place. But thanks.
You know, interesting comment in chat saying, do we think that Rubio and Vance will turn on Trump? Not overtly. That's a death sentence in the Republican Party. Not overtly. But you're already seeing Rubio, who has the ability to do it, sort of disengaging from a lot of the day-to-day craziness with Trump. Vance, unfortunately, is stuck. He's the vice president of the United States. He can't turn on Trump. But Rubio, yeah, he's distancing himself, especially with this Iran debacle.
Supposedly, again, this is all rumors, but I've been seeing things saying that according to at least people near the top, they're already planning on backing Vance for 2028. And Rubio and Vance kind of hate each other.
2028 is too far away.
Too far away.
I understand that. I'm just saying when it comes to that's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why all that stuff.
As of right now, but yeah, I have a hard time believing Vance will make it because he is also extremely disliked within his own party. He does not have the same charisma that the Republican Party is looking for.
I've met boxes of Kleenex with more charisma than the vice president. Vance is an interesting character. He certainly isn't stupid. He's not an unintelligent person, but he singularly lacks even a shred of political skill. He just is awkward. He's wooden. He's phony. He doesn't connect with people. I just don't see him as a major candidate. I just don't. I just don't see him winning the presidency. But I could be wrong. I didn't see Donald Trump winning the presidency either. So,
I want to say this quick. What's up? Yes, just let me know your take. It's an odd question. That's fine. And sorry, you have too many naysayers. It doesn't matter what you say. They're not open to the truth. That's fine. I'm not. I don't care. Like people that don't want to listen, they don't want to listen. It's whatever.
At this point, and I said this a long time ago, but especially like at this point, if people are still not um, willing to see the faults that this administration has and to not be upset or angry about it, then they will never, ever change their mind. They are purposely being ostriches, in my opinion, which is sticking their head in the sand, and that's how they live their lives.
Yep. I mean, I can't speak for Scott, but for me personally, I don't care about 2028 right now. Right now, my focus is 2026, and then we'll see who runs. Like,
well, you since it was aimed at me, let me jump in. And you stole my thunder, folks. Thinking about 2028 is a fool's errand at this point. Within a few weeks' time, we'll be able to start talking about 2028 after the midterms. And let me explain why. Every single president in this century, every single one, was not thought of 4 years before. Nobody talked about George W. Bush in 1996, 1997 being a president. They talked about Jeb Bush. They didn't talk about George W. Bush. Nobody talked about Barack Obama 4 years before he became president. Nobody talked about Donald Trump 4 years before he became president, outside of almost a joke. And Joe Biden was retired 4 years before he became president. So things change after the midterms. We'll see who runs. But usually somebody comes out of the pack. Nobody foresaw Mike Dukakis in 1988 winning the Democratic primary, but he did. Nobody saw Donald Trump winning it, but he did.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get people coming out of the woodwork, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Mark, if someone said Trump did a good thing, the left would disagree. It depends what they said. It depends what they said. I'm willing to listen to anyone who says they think Trump did a good thing. That doesn't mean I'm going to agree with it. It doesn't mean the data will back it. So you say that Trump did a good thing by getting the stocks up. I'm saying he didn't. I'm saying the stocks going up aren't a good thing for most Americans.
Yeah, I mean, it's about wealth distribution. It's far more complicated than just your stocks going up. I mean, if you're one of the rare people who has a lot of value in stocks, I mean, that's fine, but that's not the reality of most Americans. There's a massive, I think it's, I don't remember what the number was, but there's a large amount of Americans who don't even own anything in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big issues is less and less people being able to enter into the stock market, and the what we talk about with the K economy and the wealth gap that we're seeing and only ever widening, especially after the big beautiful bill.
Yep. And again, you are allowed to like him. I would disagree with you. I wouldn't. I don't know how you could think he's done a good job based on everything that has gone on in the last year and a half in this country. It doesn't matter. You will disagree. No, I'll disagree if it's not true. Y'all have no clue how much the stock market means to all. Actually, we do.
Fortunate servant, Mandami can't run for president. He's not eligible.
Biden record. What about Biden? He wasn't perfect either. Again, when people talk about the perfect candidate, there's no such thing as the perfect candidate. None.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I think why Democrats lost was part of their messaging. You know, one thing that really hurt them was saying how good the economy was while they were in office. And many people did not feel that way.
Mm-hmm. My son had a vasectomy at age 19. He's not raising children in this hellhole country right now. You know, there's a lot that are doing that. There's a lot. I don't blame them. As a parent who has an adult child, that's BS too. Okay. Well, as someone who has a recently adult child, I see the problems that they're dealing with. So it's not BS. I will not be a grandpa. This is horrific. I understand that too. I understand the pain in that. But it you know,
I don't know, Fortunate, about the bunkers that they're building. It is curious. I've read that too. I also find it curious that Peter Thiel got the hell out of the United States. I find that interesting. Don't know what it means. I have some thoughts on it, but we'll wait and see how it all plays out.
Just means they have a lot of money to waste.
which they
Well,
do.
or it means that they're worried about something.
Yeah.
Biden was have someone pull what? Please use real sentences.
Well, I mean, that's why we say administration, right? We have a presidential candidate who runs with a vice president and who has an entire administration to help them with the entirety of the executive branch. And that's one of my biggest complaints with the Trump administration is the people that he is putting in power who have no business getting the power that they have.
So why is it possible that a lot of billionaires are buying bunkers? Probably because they're afraid. They see that we're in Gilded Age 2.0, and there are probably if there's one thing I've learned about a lot of extremely wealthy people is there is nothing that scares them more than losing their wealth, than being turned against. That's why they try and get as much money as possible, because in the end, that's the only thing they think can protect them just as much as anything else. So Biden ran president 2024, Kamala Harris pick run. Well, yeah, because Biden dropped out. And technically, the DNC or the RNC can straight up pick whoever they want. There actually is nothing in the Constitution that requires the picks to happen through elections. I think people need
Well,
to
in fact,
understand
that's a relatively recent phenomenon. Most of the time in our nation's history, the party's nominees have been chosen by party officials. It's only the majority of delegates only started being chosen by primary, and I guess it was 68 in the Republicans and 72 with the Democrats, 1968 and 1972, respectively.
How much farmland does Bill Gates have? Too much. Joe Biden had dementia. Okay. I mean, I didn't see any proof of that, but
Have you listened to Trump recently?
He's also not president anymore, and I disagreed with him running again strongly and said it many, 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 many times that he should drop out, that he shouldn't have run in the first place.
First of all, good morning.
Hey, Claire.
And, to that point, too, historically, we're finding out that Reagan did have the beginnings of Alzheimer's and such while he was president. But going back to what Books was talking about, yeah, it's the cabinet that the president also puts in place that has a huge impact on policy that affects the country in many ways. I mean, it's it's not just the president or the VP; it is the cabinet, which affects a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and anybody who's waiting for this cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment is going to have a real long wait.
Mm-hmm. So true. How many houses and compounds does Mamdani and Sanders have?
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Don't know.
Don't care.
If they have a lot of wealth, they should get taxed more too. I don't understand what you're saying.
Like he actually cares. They're gonna come. That's one of the things.
He doesn't care.
That is one of those things that they have done since just one of the. I don't even know. It's an attack that they love to use on socialists or anybody who has socialists in their ideology name. It's such a silly thing. Nobody cares. Look at Trump. I mean, like you care.
True.
Yeah, he obviously doesn't care that that Trump is scammed $2.2 billion in 2025 alone, or that his cabinet is made up mostly of billionaires. Doesn't care about that.
Rick.
But he does care about Mamdani's housing situation.
What is the point of your question? To prove that there are rich people on the left? Yeah, there are.
Let me point this out to you. Only people who have money and money, more money than the average person, typically are capable of running in politics. That doesn't mean that they have anywhere close to the wealth that the Trump family has.
And that doesn't mean that Congress and other policy should not readjust the tax liabilities for people in the top 10% and for corporations on their tax structure. That's just one small part of a greater issue that we're dealing with in this nation. And going back really quick to the cabinet, is not only is it full of billionaires, but it's also full of people that are completely incompetent for their particular job.
And, I just looked it up. Mamdani has a net worth of approximately $200,000. His biggest holding is 4 acres of land near Lake Victoria in Uganda. That is valued at $150,000 to $250,000. His family background? No, they're not billionaires. His family is worth an estimated $2 to $10 million. Okay, so that knocks out your entire point.
So incompetent that they are billionaires. You don't have to be smart to make billions of dollars. Not in the United States these days.
I mean, my goodness, if I inherited $600 million, I would hope I was a billionaire too.
Like, they literally started up 20 steps up the ladder. Yeah, just
Let's
be
not
willing to
forget,
exploit and break the law.
Trump's great wealth. How much of it was earned? 1.6 billion in 2025 alone from his crypto scheme. 1.6 billion.
Which he didn't design, by the way. Like, it's not like he did it. He pays other people to do it for him. He just gives them the money.
Look at what politicians are voting on. Look at the bills that they are bringing forth. What are they doing with their, like, what platforms do they support? I mean, that's what you have to look at. This administration is just out to make the wealthy wealthier. And that's the simplest way that I can put it. I really don't know much of anything that they have done that is beneficial to the American people besides people who already have wealth.
You know, Books, there's an easy solution that Congress could do tomorrow to solve this issue. You can't own stocks if you want to serve in Congress. It's as simple as that. You can't own them. You have to divest to be a member of Congress. And if you're a president, rather than the usual way of putting all your assets into a blind trust, make it a law. They have to put their assets in a blind trust. It's really not that hard, folks. Why aren't we doing it?
Yep.
The middle class tax break from the big beautiful bill, you have to look at macroeconomics, because I can say honestly that I also got the largest tax refund that I've ever had. My husband is in the oil field. He works a lot of overtime. I mean, we maxed out that. So we got a lot, but macroeconomics show that there was a massive wealth distribution taken from the poor and middle class and given to the upper class because of the big beautiful bill.
This is, again,
Well, there's no doubt about it. And let's not forget that money that you just saved yourself, Books, there's a sunset. That's sunset. That's for 3 years only. The money that I saved on Social Security, that's for 3 years only. The tax cuts for billionaires, that's permanent.
And did I get a lot back? Sure. More than I ever have. But the difference between that is null and void because of the
increasing cost
the policies that they had created to increase cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, everything that the middle class is saving by their any tax cut that they got, and again, the tax cuts were heavily weighted towards corporations and the rich, and billionaires. Any money that you're saving is wiped out by the increase in the cost of living and the increase in your cost of healthcare.
They have already shown that any savings this year that were brought by the big beautiful bill for the middle class and lower were null and void. I mean, you are spending more money now on cost of living than any of the taxes that you got back. Last I checked, it was over $1,000, I think, on average, and maybe more than that.
Actually, the thing they passed in Congress does not really stop trading. There's a huge problem with that stock trading bill that has gone through Congress already.
And again, the key is not to stop the stock trading or anything else, because you can still take actions as a congressperson to increase the value of the stocks that you hold. No, there's a much simpler way to go about it. You can't own stocks, period.
Yeah.
Can't own them. Now, if you want to hold on to your stocks, that's fine. Nobody's going to take away your stocks. You just can't run for Congress.
Yeah. But yeah, that bill that they passed, was a whole lot of talk about it where it doesn't stop family members from trading. It doesn't stop pretty much anyone else from trading for you. It just stops like you literally straight up from doing things. So it's performative at most. Stop hating on Trump. Well, and Trump should stop doing horrible things. That's a great way to stop hating on him. Stop doing shitty things. I'll stop shitting on you. All right, guys, it is past 12 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone, for the likes, the shares, and the gifts. It means more to me than you possibly can know. If you haven't gone over to YouTube or Apple or Spotify, please go and watch the episodes that we're posting. I'm interviewing people that are running for office. Now that pretty much most of the primaries are done, I'm going to be reaching out with the ones that I've interviewed before and do secondary interviews with them so they can hopefully win, which will be great. And yeah, just help get these people name recognition, visibility. If you like learning about what's going on in things like Hollywood, I've interviewed a couple actors recently talking about stuff that's going on over there. There's a lot of cool things going on, a lot of fun things going on, and there's more to come. So please, please, please help a friend out, help a community out, help me out, make it possible for me to keep doing what I'm doing here, which is talking to you guys and talking about what's going on in the world. So, all right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow morning. You guys are amazing, just the way you are. Love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile, do something that makes you happy. Thanks, Shelly. Bye.